the substitution, the substitution of beats, the substitution of beats for, the substitution of beats for rest and rest for beats becomes an important part of his music. It's known as progressive revelation. Sometimes it can be that it, sometimes it can be that it order. Sometimes it can be that it will not be in the order expected. And that can also degenerate so that that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have the score to Tehillim somewhere around here, but where is it? But desert music, I do have words by William Carlos Williams, full symphony orchestra and chorus, marvelous. Gotta go on. In different trains, again, touching base with his roots, personal roots. Those trains that he took in his early years, 1930s, late 30s, early 40s, back and forth across the country. And there were other Jewish kids on trains in Europe, and their destiny was considerably darker. And this is the first time, I believe, that we now have Reich returning to his creative, groundbreaking roots with now found dialogue, but now incorporated into the texture of a string quartet. And another train music piece, chugging along, and the verbal snippets directly lead to verbal motives, as we had back in It's Gonna Rain, and now from Chicago to New York. Reich's percussive background can also be heard in the use of drumming rudiments, including the paradiddle, which is left, right, left, left, right, right, right. Another side of the Jewish experience, touching not in America but in Israel, and this would be, or Palestine, depending on the point of view, and this would be the cave, which references the cave of Machpelah, which is where Abraham was buried. And of course, Abraham is a patriarch not only to Jews and Christians, but to Muslims. And so we get a multi-musical cultural experience, including chants from a variety of traditions.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أهل الكتاب لم تحاجون في إبراهيم وما أنزلت.
And finally, the tradition of living in the big city. City life feels like an outdoor piece. And again, he returns to live speech, as you've heard before. The live voice, check it out, da-da-dum, generating musical phrases. And really, in some ways, it's been there, done that. What comes around goes around. So that in many ways, it's almost like returning to his roots. So we can get a 3-period Steve Reich, right? The tape music period, the live, and then live and tape. What could be better? By now, though, it's digital sampling, and there are sound effects. Not that others haven't used this by this point. have a little fragment of the score. And son of a gun, I think from Tehillim on, he actually does use mixed meters, tricky stuff, Daniel variations, Book of Daniel, and also Daniel Pearl, who was murdered in the Middle East. Oh, and then of course Dolly, Three Tales, great piece from the early 2000s. His wife, Pearl Karat, did the video, and this is, amongst the Three Tales is Hindenburg. Bikini, as in the nuclear tests, and Dolly the Cloned Sheep. And this is a text using a lot of loops of the voices of different scientists and philosophers, including Richard Dawkins, Selfish Gene, and James Watson of DNA fame. So it not only goes into genetic engineering, but the potentials of artificial intelligence. It's really quite ominous, wonderful. Beyond the aesthetic of music itself, scientifically, you can learn something.
And placed him in the garden of Eden to serve it and to keep it.
The process is as follows. The process is...
They removed the nucleus from an egg. No genes in it at all.
Take out that DNA.
DNA is the script. DNA is the script for life.
They put in all the genes from another cell,
Which can come from the skin, the hair, anyway. They took a frozen udder cell from a sheep that was dead.
we and all other animals, we and all are machines, machines are machines, machines are machines.
One of the tragic situations in American society before the coronavirus, and that being the destruction of the World Trade Center. And you'll hear that with the alarm signals, really an irritant of life, but will capture the horror. We're about to hit full blown on the rock and roll era of the 1960s. It was mostly created by people born in the 40s. But here's a guy born in 1936, same year as Steve Reich, Billy Roberts, and he starts kind of as a street musician in San Francisco, copyrights Hey Joe in 1962. Some people have claimed that it's a traditional song. The chord cycle is notable, and we've got in D what? And it could be and so that's flat 6, flat 3, flat 7, then the 4 chord, and that 4 chord is a major 4, and if you're really in minor, it would be a minor chord, but it's kind of like, it's what would it be? Instead of, we have harmonic minor that has a 5 chord that's major, and the use of this plagal cadence, a 4 chord, but turning that into major, what would the scale be then? Oh, that's a Dorian move, of course. So you got major 4 and then major 1 when you've had actually all these chords in minor. So shall we say pick or D third again? And that's why that song sounds so ominous, even though it's nothing but major chords. Well, taps is nothing but major too. So this also brings up the notion of what makes a song a song. I mean, that's a Billy Roberts song. It winds up being covered by a lot of different people, including the Byrds. But the person that really makes it famous is, or you Google and Hey Joe, who comes up? Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix, actually, this was his first hit with the Jimi Hendrix Experience in 1966 in England. Nice African-American guy from Washington State, from Seattle. And a prophet is not recognized in his own land. This is going to happen a couple of times. And this happens actually a lot. Got to go somewhere else to recognize your genius. So he goes to England. He's paired with 2 white guys on drums and bass. And then eventually he's going to bring it on back home. But is this a Billy Roberts song, or is this really a Jimi Hendrix song? Certainly nobody else plays the guitar. And check it out. Can you see? There's guitar in this shirt too. We'll see this again. Maybe even in color. And so the chord cycle squares up with minimalism. And really, I got to admit, my reintroduction, my rapprochement with rock and roll was really kind of in the back door via minimalism. I figured, like, well, if the minimalists are cycling chords, why not the original chord cyclers? And really, Indian music with its drones, this is just the notion of movable drones that goes back to Peraltin, right, and Lenin. Of course. Thou doth protest too much. Here's just the end of Hey Joe, because in Jimi Hendrix's version, because the rest is just the same, right? Wonderful song in terms of the ominous quality, and really like an old folk ballad. You get the same chord cycle, basically the same blues melody, Hey Joe, but turning darker and darker as it goes. And there is no recourse but just to head out of town, head out of the country.